Hi, yeah, this is a quick editorial note. This arc is taking place a whole year before its canon counterpart. I mentioned that 6 years had passed in the last part, but didn't actually bring up the fact this is happening earlier. That all being said, it doesn't really add much, just so people understand why I'm using the younger renders for Gohan and Trunks, and just some other things which will happen later on. Okay, bye. The energy of Bubbity's henchman, his right-hand man, is so strong that it causes a small chuckle of fear to escape Gohan and Trunks' mouth. Cullen explains that when he arrived to counter the wizard's forces in Hercule City, he was met by an army of the undead. Hundreds of Frieza soldiers were attacking civilians, and it's not just there, it's all over the world. He, Yamcha, Chi-Chi and Tien had already split up to deal with them in hope to prevent too much death from happening. However, he drew the short straw, and due to this he came face to face with what he can only describe as Babbidy's strongest warrior. Vegeta knows this to be Dabura, and is surprised, truthfully, that the Earthling came out of that encounter alive, but doesn't have too much time to think about it, as he looks over to Kakarot and his family asking if they are ready to do this, as Dabura is nothing to scoff at. Goku nods, gesturing his readiness to go, as he turns his attention towards everyone else in his group, telling them to be ready for a fight of their lives. As he scans through the group, he spots his sons powering up, Piccolo dropping his weights, before his eyes land on Cell, who looks excited, something Goku can't help but admit feeling himself. A strong battle always gets his blood boiling. Of all 7 warriors ready to leave the lookout, Trunks is quickly gifted a sheath for the Z sword by Piccolo, before Goku asks the Kais to take the Earthling warriors, his own family and Kami to their world. In case things go wrong, it will leave plenty of strong fighters and the Dragon Balls available. Shin nods as the group disappears into the distance, but Kibito can't help but not be happy about this arranged deal. Meanwhile, in the middle of Hercule City, a swarm of Frieza soldiers, all having an M branded on their foreheads, begin to attack innocent civilians at the orders of a pink demon-looking man. He barks out orders trying to regain his troops' positioning after having been thrown off by a bold man, even having to step in himself. Annoyed a warrior that strong had slipped his grasp and managed to escape. But Dabura can't help but believe that he'll be back, with maybe some stronger allies, as his eyes scan the sky waiting for them to arrive. Soon being proven correct, as his eyes widen with delight as the Z warriors arrive on the scene. Gohan and Trunks take in the sight of Hercule City destroyed like this. It brings their blood to a boil. They can't believe the sight they see, but for now, they don't know what else to do. As lightning flickers in front of the two's eyes, they just see red, and they are ready to take down whoever caused the damage. While Dabura starts spotting Vegeta and Nappa, 2 people he knows have a great deal of power to offer up, he gets ready to take their energy. However, after taking a few more seconds to sense out the group's power, they are easily the weakest in this group they have brought with them. But none of them stand a chance against him. It's perfect. Vegeta, seeing the swarms of Frieza soldiers tuts, realising Babidi had reanimated the bodies and corpses of Frieza soldiers from the past Battle of Earth, making the prince's spine chill as he wonders who else could possibly be back. But he doesn't have to waste much time at this thought, as a familiar voice calls out to him, turning back to see a group filled with the people Vegeta hates most in this world. Frieza and his henchmen. The Ginyu Force, Zarbon, Dodoria, and even Q have all made an appearance, all now sporting an M on their forehead. The former Emperor of the Universe laughs, thanking his new master Babidi for this opportunity for revenge. But Vegeta just smiles, telling the others he can deal with these guys alone, asking for Goku and everyone else to take down Dabura and stop Babidi before Buu is ever awakened. Goku nods while reminding Vegeta not to give off too much energy. Vegeta already knows this and has kept his energy purposely very low, but he won't need that much to defeat these guys. After all, he's picked up a few new tricks since being out in the universe. Plus, Frieza's power level compared to his nowadays is nothing, as Vegeta jumps forward, throwing a punch towards Frieza, sending him blasting off before turning and decapitating Gordo all in one swift move. This tells the group Vegeta will be fine, as he easily holds off the 7-man squad against him, as the others now turn their attention towards Dabura, who stares at them from the ground, licking his lips, almost salivating at the thought of the energy they can provide. As he shouts for the Z-Warriors to come down and fight him, otherwise he will destroy this stupid rock. Nappa, knowing his place and how little use he will be in the battle ahead, decides to go off and start saving civilians from the Frieza soldiers that might interfere with the battle. Deeming this to be a really good plan, no one has any objections, as Nappa flies off to deal with any Frieza soldiers he can find, while making sure he can save any civilians he comes across as well, leaving the Sun family, Piccolo and Cell, to use a plan they have already preemptively come up with. as the three Saiyans activate their Ikari forms to minimise the energy they give off, while also helping close the gap between themselves and Dabura as much as possible, even if it's ever so slightly. While Dabura does mental math, he isn't worried about this battle. Even with this new increase in energy, he feels like he can win. Even if all 5 of them came at him at once, his confidence is through the roof. He will win this battle every time. The issue Dabura is having is that the energy required to awaken Buu will take a long time to collect with all 5 of these warriors in their current states. He needs to drag the battle out as long as he possibly can, so when the 5 warriors in front of him begin to dogpile the demon, he immediately goes on the defensive, not wanting to throw a punch and let them give off as much energy as possible. The group soon learns that even with all 5 of them, they do little to even slow down Dabura, who dodges and blocks all of the oncoming attacks from the Earthrays warriors. After a few seconds of struggling to even land a single blow, Goku knows that they need to take it up a gear, and his only hope is to take it to the next level. He jumps away from the fight, dropping down from his Ikari state and then reigniting himself in a golden aura, using his Super Saiyan form, something Gohan and Trunks are quick to follow with. Cell, getting the idea it's time to get more serious, powers up himself to full power. The 4 now much better equipped for the fight against Dabura. Even though they aren't nearly as strong as him, they have closed the gap by a larger margin than previously. Piccolo, however, feels like he's getting more and more outclassed, and instead of giving off pointless energy from himself and risking the Dragon Balls, he jumps away to help Nappa deal with any Frieza soldiers who might interfere with the battle. Dabura, now having a bit of a challenge on his hands, starts taking the battle a bit more seriously, even deeming it necessary to draw his blade as he begins to swing at the Sun family fighters, however purposely pulls his attacks to prevent any serious blows or fatal injuries. This lasts for a few seconds as the Sun family works in perfect unison to fight off against Dabura, trying to do anything they can to possibly gain the advantage, even landing in some decent blows where they can. However, Dabura's defensive fighting style and his blade prove to be too deadly for the heroes. That is until Trunks and Gohan figure out that Dabura is purposely not attacking to kill, instead drawing out time. The pair, realising this, don't want to waste another second, darting forward ready to call Dabura at his bluff, recklessly rushing and risking their lives to close the gap between themselves and him. Dabura, seeing the twins closing the distance, swings his blade towards Gohan. However, purposely makes it so the blade will fall short, something Gohan spots, increasing his speed to make it so the blade will truly hit him, making Dabura try to pull back on the weapon he had swung, not wanting to kill Gohan and lose a possible way to awaken Buu, while Gohan turns his body and extends his arms out to catch the blade, feeling the steel cut into his hands and go relatively deep into his flesh, but soon wraps his fingers around the weapon. Turning back to his brother, Trunks, having seen what his brother had planned, begins to unsheath the Z-sword, feeling the weight of the blade almost instantly, almost making him fall to the floor. However, he pushes forward, aiming the tip of the weapon for the throat of the Demon Lord. The speed of the attack almost catches him off guard, but letting go of his own sword and using Gohan as a platform to jump off of, Dabura easily manages to escape the almost life-ending attack, shocked at how close he had come to death. In this moment of shock, Dabura doesn't pay attention to Goku or Cell, his attention solely focused on Trunks and Gohan, not realising that Goku and Cell are now behind him, only realising his mistake when he feels himself being put into a full Nelson, before being flipped upside down and thrown into the ground. Dabura manages to avoid hitting the floor, only to feel a tail wrap around his neck and finish the trip forcibly, slamming him into the ground. Cell, having completed the combo, looks up to his rival, giving a thumbs up before looking back down at Dabura, smiling. Dabura and Cell lock eyes for a second, and only for an instant does Dabura swear he sees Cell's tongue run along what would be his top lip. However, it's only for an instant. Trunks, seeing Dabura pinned, goes for another killing blow, swinging his blade down towards Dabura, who's still being pinned by Cell's tail. Seeing Trunks coming down towards him, however, he is quick to rip Cell's tail off from around his neck, rolling to avoid the stab coming towards him and then spitting towards Trunks. However, Cell is fast to defend Trunks, throwing the severed part of his tail into the spit, which quickly turns to stone. Cell tells Trunks to be more careful, having already been warned about this by Vegeta, and this gets a thanks out of the boy, as a set of screams grabs their attention as they look up, spotting Gohan and Goku coming down to join the fight. Gohan throws Dabura's sword directly towards the Demon Lord, forcing Deborah to roll with yet another dodge, creating an opening for both Goku and his son to slam their heel of their feet into Deborah's gut. Their joint power is enough to make a massive crater and force a grunt of pain to escape the Demon Lord's mouth. Now having had enough of this game which is seemingly being played, Deborah breathes in and then fires off a powerful key-like flame from his mouth. The burst of fire engulfs both Goku and Gohan, who still stand atop of Deborah, burning at their clothes and skin, causing the pair to jump backwards trying to pat out the fire, gripping at their clothes and patting out any flames on their skin. Gifting a chance for Deborah to get some revenge, and picking out the weakest amongst the group, he targets Goku to take his revenge on. Swinging his sword towards the Saiyan's throat, Goku realises all too late that he is going to die. Unable to dodge or really react, he closes his eyes, hoping that his sons can finish this battle. Only for a flash of lightning and the sound of metal colliding with metal is heard. Goku opens his eyes, seeing Trunks, his hair sharper, lightning engulfing his aura, and the Z-Sword having blocked the attack from Deborah's blade. As Trunks has ascended to a new level of power, he screams out, telling Deborah he will not be hurting his father. As a battle of the blade begins, as Trunks, now faster and stronger than ever before, begins to use sloppy technique with his swords to hold Deborah at bay, the two now fairly equal in power, as Trunks and Deborah's weapons clash over and over again. Trunks using the weight of the Z-Sword to his advantage, using it to block and apply pressure in clashes. While Trunks clashes blades with Deborah, Goku watches the battle, and he can see that if given time, Trunks could win this, but he can feel the energy coming off Trunks. If the battle was to go on for too long, too much energy will be given off. Turning back to see Vegeta still fighting Frieza and his former co-workers, he's giving off hardly any energy and still holding them at bay. And it's clear Vegeta is clearly working through some personal issues. All the while, Nappa and Piccolo are managing to control the Frieza Force's army, not letting them wander too far. As Goku turns to Gohan, getting ready to rally back into the fight, Cell steps out in front of them, shouting out for them to wait, stopping them in their tracks. Gohan asks what's going on, as Cell tells them to take a second and really think about what they're planning on doing. They're planning on joining in a fight which is already giving off way too much energy because Trunks has a new form he can't control, truly making the pair stop and think. Cell tells them that joining will only give off more energy, which will lead to Boo's awakening happening much faster. Instead, he has a different idea, and it involves getting Trunks out of this fight as fast as possible, and hopefully ending the battle just as fast. Goku, hearing this, asks Cell what the plan is. Cell explains that it's only been for brief seconds and once or twice, but he's felt Babidi's presence, or at least what he assumes is Babidi's presence, nearby. Having had a chance to break away from the fight and think about it, only makes sense that Babidi is close. After all, he's having to collect this energy somehow. So Cell believes that the best plan they have is for all three of them to split up and start searching for Babidi. After all, if they can find and kill him, it means they can join in the battle with Trunks and go all out to kill Deborah. Gohan and Goku look to see Trunks fighting a very even battle against Deborah. It's clear that whatever this new state of Super Saiyan is clearly helping Trunks keep on an even playing field with Deborah, as the pair go toe-to-toe. The two are hesitant to leave Trunks battling alone, but Cell explains that he is going to stay behind. Due to him not having to transform, he is not giving off as much energy as they are, meaning he can stay and help Trunks without giving off quite as much power as they do, allowing them to search and fight all at the same time. Goku, knowing this to be true, thinks this to be the best plan, turning to Gohan and telling him to drop down from Super Saiyan and start heading towards the mountain range with him, shouting for Trunks and Cell to be careful as they fly off. Deborah, being caught in a fairly even battle against Trunks, cannot afford to take his eyes off his opponent at all, meaning Gohan and Goku can get away with no problems whatsoever. Vegeta, seeing the pair do this, catches on to the plan of the Sun family and actually decides to join them, quickly wiping out the rest of Frieza and his goons in the blink of an eye, before rushing off to join them in the search for Babidi's ship in the mountains, getting some assistance from both Kami and the Kais, who all take their eyes off the battle, in search for the wizard Babidi. Feeling a large sum of eyes suddenly move away, Cell lets out a breath of relief as he turns his attention back towards the battle at hand. He stands watching from a distance, stalking from afar, as he begins to slowly circle around his opponent, waiting for his perfect opportunity to strike, and soon it presents itself, As Deborah and Trunks clash swords once more, Deborah then fires off a wob of spit towards Trunks. The hybrid goes to dodge the attack, only to be unable to move, as if something holds him in place for a second too long, as he is hit by the wob of spit, slowly becoming stone. Deborah is confused, having thought the brat should have easily dodged the attack. He had only truly spat to gain some distance between himself and the boy, but the moment Trunks is fully covered in stone, a voice speaks out apologising from a distance for interrupting the fight. Deborah turns back to see Cell, who begins to walk forward, saying that the Kais had some interesting tricks. When he mixed it with Frieza's DNA, it gave him some very unique abilities he wanted to test out. Deborah now looks confused, asking what that means. However, Cell ignores the question, going on to ask if they have farms in Hell, as he slowly approaches Deborah, who is taken aback by the question, but answers honestly that they don't. Cell tuts, saying how he won't understand his description then, or how useful what he did truly was. Deborah feels himself becoming more off-put and confused by the second, but a sharp pain cuts into his chest. Looking down, he spots Cell's tail embedded into it, the bug having closed the distance in mere seconds, as he lets out a gentle laugh. Cell laughs as he explains that he was going to compare what Deborah just did for him to fattening a turkey before Christmas, but he guesses he wouldn't understand that either. As Deborah feels his life force being pulled out of him bit by bit, he panics and tries to fight back against Cell, punching the monster over and over again in the face, hoping the pain will cause him to release his grip, but Cell's proved to be tenacious, as he doesn't even flinch at any of the punches, taking each of them to the face with a smile, as the bloodthirsty creature, having gotten a taste for Deborah's power, refuses to let go, not wanting to stop until it has nearly collected every last drop of Deborah's energy. However, whether through the grace of another god that Deborah is unaware of, Cell stops absorbing him after taking around half of his power. Cell removes his tail, and Deborah is now much skinnier, his muscle mass having dropped considerably, and now having lost a great deal of power, while Cell has bulked up and smiles like the monster he is, his power warping and twisting all the while. He tells Deborah that he should enjoy ruling the underworld when he returns, and Deborah curses at Cell, whose power seemingly skyrockets from this quick snack. Deborah, knowing Cell is going to kill him if he is not fast, once more tries to spit at the bug. However, Cell, having already learnt how to counter this, doesn't really need to think, quickly infusing some ki into his palm and blocking the attack, telling Deborah that that trick only worked earlier because he helped him. So why would it work now? Then Cell wonders something, licking the inside of his mouth and building up his own wob of spit, as he then fires it towards Deborah, who is confused for a second before his body begins to slowly turn to stone, much like Trunks before him. Deborah, knowing what is going to happen to him if he does not react fast, goes to cut off his arm, but paralysis hits him, making him unable to move, as if that same unknown deity from before is now punishing him for his previous sins. As he looks to Cell, looking at the bug having his hand extended outwards, a purple glow covering his hands, as he laughs once more as he reminds him of what he had said earlier about the Kai's tricks and Frieza's DNA. Deborah now understands why the brat was unable to dodge his attack. This monster made it so he couldn't, so he would turn to stone, allowing him to feed on himself. But before Deborah can vocalize this realization, his body is turned to stone. Cell feels like this meal was wasted. Half of it was still in there, but he doesn't think much more on it. Having sent Goku, Gohan and Vegeta find and kill Babidi a couple of seconds back, he is quick to finish his plan. Looking around, he points his open palm towards his chest before firing a hole into it, groaning out in pain as blood runs out of his mouth, before firing another ki blast to destroy the statue of Deborah, causing the stone covering Trunks to fade away. As Trunks' ears become free, Cell lets out a panicked cry of Trunks' name, as the boy comes to from being held in a stone prison, unsure of what the last few minutes had held, but seeing Cell hurt and no Deborah in sight, he drops out of Super Saiyan 2 and rushes to his friend's aid, asking if he's okay. Cell nods before repeating the question to Trunks. The boy nods. Cell explains what he saw, saying how he saw Dabura use some sort of magic with his free hand to hold Trunks in place, which is why he got hit by that spit. Trunks nods his head in realization of what happened, annoyed he fell for such a simple magician's trick, clearly annoyed with himself, even though he had just unlocked a newfound power. Cell goes on to explain how he managed to hold Dabura off for a few seconds before tricking him into spitting on himself, which turned him to stone, allowing Cell to kill the Demon Lord and free Trunks. Trunks thanks his friend for covering his stupid mistakes twice today. Cell tells Trunks not to worry about it, as suddenly Piccolo arrives on the scene, all of the Frieza soldiers having dropped dead very fast and suddenly a couple of seconds back. Once learning the pair are alright, he explains how everyone is reconvening on the lookout and that they should join them. The pair nod before supporting each other up to the lookout, using each other to stabilise the flight as Cell's chest wound slowly regenerates as he makes sure it goes at a slower pace. Once arriving up at the lookout, Goku sees his friend and his son. Rushing over to see if everything is alright, he asks what happened, as Trunks explains the story Cell had told him. Hearing this, Gohan thanks Cell for saving his brother, at the same time of Goku praising Trunks for awakening a new power and saving his life. As the four warriors spend a second being appreciative of one another, Shin speaks up, thanking the Earth group for managing to do something he believed impossible. Having Boo's egg in hand, he promises to hide the egg somewhere on his planet where no one will find it, at least until they can destroy it. Goku and friends nod at Shin, as Kibito, Nappa, Shin and Vegeta all get ready to depart back to the Supreme Kai world. Trunks asks if they want the Z-Sword returning, but Shin reminds them that they were worthy enough to draw it, meaning they are allowed to keep it. Trunks and Gohan celebrate this small victory, while Vegeta and Goku lock eyes, Vegeta telling Goku that next time they meet he will be a Super Saiyan, and they will battle once more. Goku tells Vegeta he will hold him to that, as the four Kai away, allowing Goku and the others to make a wish to reverse the damage done to Hercule City and its people, before the 5 fighters head back to Capsule Corp, allowing the world to enter a time of peace once more. For the following months, the news speaks of heroes of Hercule City, 3 golden warriors, 2 green aliens, or bugs, and another 2 unknown heroes who saved the day and defended many innocent lives. However, no proof can be provided, as all photographic evidence is blurry or suddenly disappears due to Bulma sticking her hand into the pots which happen to have these images. So no proof is ever provided, and news of this soon disappears, world returning to normal. Time begins to fly, and 1 year shortly passes. In this time, Gohan learns to use the Super Saiyan 2 state, and starts working to master it with his brother. However, Goku continues to work towards mastering the Super Ikari, seeing the former as the superior of the 2 options, and during this year, thanks to his sons having a stronger state, and Cell and Piccolo both being much stronger, he's able to gain control over it, and slowly works towards mastering it. Also during this time, Gohan decides he would like to get a feel for a normal life, if not only for a year, so decides to attend Orange Star Academy, joined by his brother, who is only going to keep his brother company, plus maybe pick up some girls along the way. Once joining the high school, the twins are instantly recognised as Bulma and Goku's sons, more so being known for the Bulma side of things, making them rather popular, something Trunks doesn't outright hate, enjoying the attention he gets from the ladies ever so slightly, while Gohan finds it rather bothersome, due to being here just to want to study and lead a normal life, having hoped to leave the fame of his family behind. However, soon he finds himself in a solid friend group, with Razor, Fidel and Sharpener becoming quite close friends with them, and soon weeks begin to fly, and it is a few days before the World Tournament, and it is around this time Razor and Trunks have begun to start dating one another, something that was slowly being built up to over the last few months, and something Sharpener is furious about, causing a massive argument between Trunks and Sharpener, making the blonde-haired boy of the two quit the group and stops hanging around with them quite as much, often leaving Gohan and Videl to hang out together. And it is on such an occasion Videl finally asks Gohan something she had wanted to ask him since they first met. Gohan feels a little flustered, wondering what it could be, but tells Videl to ask him anything, as Videl asks if she could meet his father. Confused and slightly disappointed, plus being shocked, he asks why, Videl, getting slightly embarrassed, explains that she knows his father is a world tournament winner, having watched a lot of his old fights, having even seen the video of his father rejecting that woman who refused to give her name at a tournament, making Gohan feel bad for poor Chi-Chi, having not known that was available on the internet. But Videl goes on to explain that she would like to learn some of the skills his father possesses. After all, his father's battles were so intriguing and so amazing to watch. It's so different from how battles are nowadays. As Gohan looks at Videl, he thinks it over. Knowing taking Videl to his home will be a huge risk. It means meeting his mother. It means meeting his weird family. It also means possibly meeting Piccolo, and definitely meeting Cell. Also, trying to figure out if Videl can take on his father and his crazy training methods. It's a lot for Gohan to process in these few seconds he has to answer. But when he looks at Videl's face, he can't help but say he will. And soon he finds himself agreeing, as the pair both hop into a jet, heading off towards Capsule Corp. This is where Videl is introduced to Gohan's family. The girl politely introduces herself to Bulma and her parents, slightly shocked to meet a celebrity such as Big as the Briefs. During this time, Gohan takes his mother to the side, explaining the situation and also acquiring the remote which can turn the gravity chamber off from the outside. With Gohan and Bulma to the side, Mr. and Mrs. Briefs begin to ask all sorts of questions to Videl, learning of her relation to the world champion, how she wants to become a strong martial artist like her father and the champions before him, as the two older Briefs begin to ask more personal questions about Videl's love life, something Gohan's ears are quick to pick up and make him re-enter the conversation, as he laughs slightly, telling Videl she doesn't need to answer any of these questions, shooting a glare towards his grandparents and getting a small chuckle from the pair, having been reminded of a younger Bulma in the few seconds Gohan displayed that embarrassment. Gohan, having gotten the remote from his mother, pockets the device before asking his mum if his father is 100% in the training chamber. Bulma nods as if finishing a conversation they were just having, telling her son he is correct. Gohan then turns to Videl, leading her away from the living area of the house, as the girl politely wishes the Briefs a nice day. Gohan's grandparents tell Bulma that it seems her sons are becoming men, making the woman smile, being reminded of her younger years. Videl is led down a rather complex hallway where a few workers say hello to Gohan before making it to a door where Gohan stops and a slight button click is heard of some sort. Videl goes to ask what that sound was, but is cut off by Gohan, who asks if she's ready to meet his father. The girl, a bit nervous, nods as she enters the room joined by Gohan, to be met by the sight of a small blue-haired girl fighting a giant green monster alongside the man she came here to see, that being Goku. And that's where I'll be leaving this part for now. What is happening with Cell, and will Videl be able to keep up with Goku's crazy training methods, or will he even accept her as a student at all? You'll have to wait and see in the next part of What If Bulma Married Goku. I hope everyone has a great day, or a good night, and hopefully I'll see you next time.